Well, hello everyone. This is Kelly McClendon, and we're presenting AI in Healthcare Foundations and Trends of AI Governance. This is an overview presentation, part one, and the overview is drawn from master slide decks that I intend to produce content for, but have amalgamated them together into three shorter presentations. So this is the first one. Let's take a look. So I recorded a introductory video called AI Governance Foundations and Trends Introduction. And there you can find out biographical information and details about this presentation series. A link to this presentation or that presentation will be posted in this video's description as soon as they're available. This presentation is part one of three in the AI Foundations and Trends series. This three-part overview is a shorter series drawn from the larger slide decks, as I said before, that I'll be using to create more video. And these slides will be seen again within their component sections that I drew them from. This is intended to be a more easily digestible three close to 15-minute presentations is what we're aiming for. In this part one, we're going to look at an intro to AI, a history of AI, and a light view of AI technology. So why should this be important to you? Well, you really need to be in charge of your own knowledge about AI, and you have to apply it to learn how it really works. When you do that, that'll reduce any anxiety you might have about the technology and show some opportunities to you for how you might use it and maybe for other ways to help your career or even your life. Streamlining and improving quality and accuracy of the current workflows and data that you have that you're working with, that's one of the big things we'd like to see AI do. Make things easier and more streamlined, especially if you have to do repetitive, boring type tasks over and over. There is and always going to be a need for human interaction with AI. Remember, these systems can hallucinate, or on a lesser scale at least, be inaccurate. And humans are there to find that and to make sure that it's not released and used to a wider scale. Want to be able to free up staff to do work that's more pertinent to their jobs and be able to have deeper dives into the data and analysis of that data. All that can be had with AI. It'll also assist your resource and human capital issues that really have arisen because of having not enough staff, too many tasks, and no full-time equivalents or workforce members to actually do the work. The use of the term AI in these presentations that I am doing, Foundations and Trends, AI is a term that I'll use, or a phrase, that really means different things in different contexts. And we have to be careful with that, so I like to define it up front. In the context of this learning environment, the term AI is used in a general context. It's really an overarching and inclusive definition of different types of systems and data that could be large language models or LLMs, machine language, ML, deep learning, DL, natural language processing, NLP, and related concepts. All of those are being swept up into the bucket we're calling AI here within this presentation. without much differentiation. It may actually be technically incorrect to call some of the systems AI that we may talk about here, but I don't want this to be confusing. And since we're looking at governance, you're going to need to know the different types of systems that comprise, again, what we generally call AI. That's what these sessions are for. When appropriate, determinations of the exact architecture and the precise definition of terms can and should be applied to this information, and the concepts within are designed, deployed, and used based on your definitions in the context that you're using them. So we will be more careful as you go forward implementing systems to carefully define, is it AI, is it large language model? But again, for the learning purposes of this educational presentation, we're going to lump all those together. Intro to AI. AI is seemingly everywhere. This slide is older in that it's a few months old, and this is just a very small smattering of logos that we pulled out of a slide deck and made here just to say AI is all over the world, all over the markets, in healthcare, out of healthcare. All different things are using AI. That should be in a way comforting because we're, of course, not well regulated yet, not enough governance yet, but still it's in use and people are learning how to come to grips with governing it. And that's what we want to remember and work towards. AI is in the news everywhere. Increasingly, we're seeing stories about AI. The Department of Justice has open healthcare probes into AI tools, and that's all rooted in the Purdue Pharma case. So that's been one interesting news item, that the Purdue Pharma case has now become even entangled in AI and having software ordering or suggesting drugs to be ordered that might be pain meds. That's possibly problematic. So again, AI in the news. We've definitely seen that generative AI, which can create fakes and copies and things like that, has an intellectual property problem. If you create a picture of a star's face, how much can you use that? Whose intellectual property is it? Are there copyright issues? All of that has really yet to be decided. And of course, Hollywood is very in tune to that because the writer's strike had, and the performers have had conversations about how to protect themselves from fakes created with AI. We've seen stories about students being punished, caught using artificial intelligence. We have seen the potential of artificial intelligence in breast cancer research. We've seen different laws being proposed, debates undertaken, and Oprah even made a television show about it. I think partially, this is my opinion, but because there's a lot of fear of AI out in the marketplace. But we are seeing a lot of stories about it, and that will tend, I think, to desensitize us to AI a little bit. So what is artificial intelligence, really? Artificial intelligence is the science of making machines that can think like humans. And that's really a mouthful, in that thinking like humans is the mechanism of thinking like humans, being able to process information the same way that we might, but also contextually, that The machines can listen to us and then respond back in our language in a way that we understand. So it's a very large step from where computer science has been up to this date. Arun Padam has put it perfectly. AI is making machines that can think like humans, but we have to remember at all times AI is not perfect. And an analogy to be used for that is that AI is kind of like a toddler. They'll explore and do things and make certain assumptions, but it's up to the parents to correct and to make sure that toddlers stay on track and are trained and educated properly and things like that with good information. And the AI is a lot like that too. You have to train the AI, but every now and then it's going to still go off on a tangent and hallucinate, or maybe just not be accurate. Maybe you ask it for a list, and rather than sending back the 9 things on the list, it sends you 8. Will you even notice? You really have the responsibility to notice if you're going to use that information in a wider context. But human interaction steers the AI back on path. For our workforces in healthcare, this is key. Humans have to work with AI. The AI may refine our thoughts and actions, but doesn't really perform the human-based processes. And some of these may change in the future where AI is performing more. But every time that happens, other tasks seem to arise, and your workforce members have that to do now, even though AI is assisting. So is there a net change in the need for workforce? That's a question that is not easily answered. And AI is hard to define, but generally uses advanced computing techniques, new computing techniques, relatively new, to make predictions, recommendations, or decisions. And to clarify that point, AI has been around quite a while. We'll talk about that, but really burst on the scene with ChatGPT in 2022. So we can also talk about it being relatively new technology. AI, again, means different things to different contexts. And I think this picture is pretty interesting. I asked Copilot, Microsoft Copilot AI, to create this, and it used DALL-E 3, which generates images from requests. And so I basically requested someone thinking and AI being the different contexts that may express itself to someone. In the context of generative AI, where the hardware and the software replicate the human thought processes to some degree, they generate responses to queries. The goal today, which is not achievable, is for artificial general intelligence, or AGI, which is the full replication of human processing. We have not achieved that step and do not know when we might. The generative AI is the type of AI we most often see in healthcare. The intelligence of artificial intelligence being created artificially is derived through techniques that gather computer-based information, documents, videos, pictures, text, writings, and links them with societal and personal population behavior data points to create these vast troves, or what they call tranches of data, that can be used for all types of human-machine interactions. And as reliant as AI is upon this data, which, by the way, we call a large language model, or LLM, is the data set, the tranche or the trove of data that the AIs are drawing knowledge from. There's really many ways to create these libraries or troves, tranches of data that it draws from. But again, regardless of the technology, regardless of the data, the AI strives to process it in a way that is similar to how humans think. Large language models, LLMs, generate text in response to a user query, which is called a prompt. So when you open AI, typically like Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT, you have a place to either enter a prompt or perhaps speak the prompt, and it'll listen and translate into words on the screen. And then that is a prompt, and that's what you query the AI system for to get the information that you wish. Computers thinking in a structured pattern way that's reminiscent of neurons. So again, I created this artwork with DALL-E based on data points and neuron looking connections, because that's the way the AI chip processing and computer code really works. But to do this, it's at the expense of huge amounts of data and electricity to power the chips and the computers. The chips and the technical architecture that they use are purpose built to perform like thoughts across neurons. They're CPUs that we're used to, the processing units, central processing units in PCs, are replaced with GPUs based primarily on video chip design, which has been around for quite a while, but video chips have always used more complex math and the regular computer processing, which is also math intensive, but not nearly so much as artificial intelligence. Huge, vast, stupendous, large language model libraries of human learning language and information are used to feed and train these systems. And it's truly huge sums or troves of data. But you can also build specialized, updated, or updatable, quotable, specialized libraries of data for specific purposes. We might create a library of data to handle healthcare, privacy, and security with the data that you generate from your organization. Perhaps you build a library like that. Has to be secure, probably has to be HIPAA compliant, but it certainly can be smaller than what some of these other data models like ChatGPT are built upon, which are huge and vast. So the library size can be vast, but it could also be smaller. So remember that. And there are instances, and I suspect most of the time, where you're actually using the large language models, which are the vast troves of data, at the same time having a more secure, specialized library, and you don't necessarily cross the two together. So that kind of thing can be done too, which adds to the complexity of what we have to understand for governance. The ability to incorporate applications with AI functionality at a scale where individuals can access it is what the goal is. It's not that you have to use other sophisticated machines to access the AI. We want everyone to have access to AI technology and the library and the things that they can do for, say, ChatGPT, down to the individual access. So that's the resolution that we're looking for as far as what population or what size user groups do we have. But also organizations are going to need to manage AI in private and secure manners. for themselves. So an organization is comprised of individuals, but could be a large number of individuals. So again, we have individual access to AI, but also organizational access with groups of individuals. Now, regulation, governance, and compliance are still emerging, but trends are seen, excuse me, that now can be adapted. So regulation, there's not a huge number of them on the books, but quite a few being proposed. Governance, there's no clear governance style except the NIST risk management framework, really, at this point, although others are emerging. And compliance, which has to do with following regulations and laws, that stuff's still emerging. But we've seen enough that we can go ahead and be proactive and be taking our steps on governance now. We don't have to wait for them to emerge. We have other drivers and reasons to have to do governance. And never underestimate the amount of effort and reasons why humans must be involved at every step along the way with AI. The history of AI. I'm not going to read this slide, but I do suspect that you would want to do this at your leisure because it is a good way of showing from Turing test back in 43 through 2023 what some of the significant steps along the evolution of AI that have occurred. And it is an interesting slide to dive into. A light view of AI technology. What is artificial intelligence? These are some of the terminology and acronyms. Artificial general intelligence, artificial neural networks, large language models, predictive decision support interventions, all of those are concepts of AI that we will talk about or learn as we go forward. AI software tools and open source. Obtuse means difficult to penetrate, incomprehensible to one of ordinary understanding or knowledge, which is AI. AI is obtuse. Obtrusiveness must be addressed with transparency into all processes and functions of AI. Deep learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence are all different flavors of AI, really, when we get down to it. In machine learning here, it says a subset of AI that includes abstruse statistical techniques that enable machines to improve tasks with experience. Again, abstruse, sorry for my pronunciation difficulties, that's not a word I've used very much, just means difficult to penetrate or incomprehensible, and you pretty much get the gist of trying to learn the details of artificial intelligence. It isn't really necessary to understand very much of these details to provide governance. Some might rub off on you as you go forward with the details, but you don't have to be an expert on each of these. Artificial general intelligence is, again, AI that can perform as well or better than humans on a wide range of cognitive tasks. Creating an AGI is a primary goal of AI research, and companies such as OpenAI, DeepMind, and Anthropic do this. Narrow AI, as opposed to AGI, are AIs designed for specific tasks. And in healthcare, we're seeing a lot of that. They're not really trying to apply artificial general intelligence in healthcare yet too much, But narrow AI, which has specific tasks, is in fact being used quite often. OpenAI is a US based artificial intelligence research and development organization founded in December of 2015 that researches artificial intelligence with the goal of developing safe and beneficial artificial general intelligence, which it defines as highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valued work. But that's a goal. That's an aspirational goal. They still don't have artificial general intelligence where they can think as well as humans. Now, this is a research organization that is putting its foot forward for safety and ethics and non-biased AIs, but it is important to understand that they may sell shares and become more public oriented. We'll just have to wait and see. Since there's such a large influence in the AI industry, always listen to what's going on with OpenAI. And OpenAI was one of the leading organizations in what's called the AI Spring, which is the new emphasis on AI and machine learning. And it's developed several large language models, advanced image generation models, and previously released open source models. So OpenAI really was at the vanguard of the AI Spring and is involved very heavily in it's not a resurgence, but the surgence of AI. They released ChatGPT, that is OpenAI who creates that product. And again, ChatGPT is credited with starting the AI Spring in 2022. AI software tools and open source. AI technology can be procured as an application or a product, or can be built out from software tools. These tools may be like open source, like OpenAI is open source, sort of anyway. There are thousands in the marketplace and more every day of open type tools. Here's some names of some: TensorFlow, RNN, Theano, PyTorch, Caffe2. Or they may be proprietary and closed, so they're not an open model. An open model means they're more publicware. And you have to be careful with those from a privacy and security perspective because they are out more in the public domain. Or they may be proprietary, offered by specific companies, which is mostly what we see in healthcare. Although they may have used open source tools, they tend to lock them down and make them proprietary for themselves. One specific question to ask up front is, will a vendor that has an AI that you're wanting to use in healthcare sign a business associate agreement? If you're going to use protected health information from the patients, you're going to have the vendor signing a business associate agreement. They don't all do that. ChatGPT doesn't. Unless you use Chat API, which is built differently than ChatGPT. Compliance regarding AI technology should really be agnostic with technology, meaning it's based on principles like transparency and not on the application or the methodology or whether it's AI or LLM or the type of hardware or software it runs on. That's not as important in the compliance and governance arena as it is with the principles that it operates under and the data it outputs and how clean and accurate that is. So it might be confusing, but OpenAI is a specific company that owns and controls ChatGPT, and they're like state of the art at model development for AI. So it's just very important to watch them as they evolve and keep them on track to keep the safeguards up to an existential level. The AI issues and potential risk can become. So we have to use tools and vendors like OpenAI to continue to build the buffers and the safeguards to make sure that we don't get existential threats from our AIs. And you do a lot of that through governance. This is the end of the part 1 presentation. I want to do a quick shout out to my company, McClendon IP, where we have a new AI risk management assessment that we put together. So this assesses risk and is a key building block of AI governance. And we are ready to use it. So if you have questions or want to know more, please let me know. And here are my email address and our web address, which I don't have listed, but we'll put in the description, is www.mcclendonip.org. Thank you very much. See you for part 2.